Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of Arrow. And I enjoyed this episode, but I really do feel like the opening sequence and the final sequence were the strongest elements of this episode. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that we all love Felicity, and clearly this show is fully invested in her character because we got a full flashback to 5 years ago before Felicity became part of Arrow and his team. And, we find out where she came from. But what I loved about the beginning of this episode was all the fight sequences. You saw Roy and Oliver fighting, well, not fighting, but practice fighting. And then you saw Thea and her dad fighting, and then you saw Laurel fighting with her new trainer at the boxing ring. So you're seeing all these people, working on their craft, getting better, getting stronger, getting more fierce, and that was really cool. And then obviously we had the ending, which I'll get to in a minute, but so yes, as I said earlier, we focused very heavily on Felicity. We got to meet her mother in this episode. Her new boss shows up at her home. We see where Felicity lives for the first time. And then we get some flashbacks to 5 years ago when her and her then boyfriend tried to hack into the school system, the school administrative office, it seemed like, and then they wanted to, or he wanted to, wipe out student loans, and she was trying to get him not to do it because he could go away to prison. And ultimately he was arrested and put in jail. And so we saw Felicity with dark hair. She kind of looked good with dark hair. And we saw who she was then, and she was just as smart. And she basically created this virus, this super virus, which becomes pretty much the case of the week in this week's episode. And to make a long story short, it turns out that her boyfriend, who she thought died in prison, was the bad guy in this episode, and he was all upset with her because she had, she's working for the establishment, and she turned into this corporate suit girl, and he had no time for that, and he was trying to punish the city, and it was fine. I mean, I do care about Felicity, but I don't know if we needed to see an entire episode all about her, where she came from, her background, because she's been a solid character so far on the show, and all the little glimpses that we've gotten from her have been enough, I think, personally. But, the show felt that they needed to do a full backstory on her. We got to see her fractured relationship with her mom, but then ultimately them explaining how much they love each other by the end of the episode. And, got to see her and her awkward boss, who I'm really digging. I really do enjoy him. I'm looking forward to more and more scenes between him and Felicity. And of course, we had some good Oliver and Felicity scenes in this episode where he is claiming to care about Felicity, but, blah, blah, blah. Show it, don't say it, okay? But the most intriguing part for me was the fact that at the end of the episode, Roy has mentioned it more than once now that he's been a little bit tired. So in last week's episode, Thea mentioned it to him that he looked a little bit tired. In the start of this week's episode, Oliver questions him that he's a little slaggy in their fighting, and he says, oh, he hasn't been sleeping very well. And at the end of the episode, we see him in his bed, restless, and we hear these voices, and it sounds like the voice of Sarah. And then we get flashes, and it's Sarah. And she is repeating the words that we heard her say on the rooftop, which were, "What are you doing here?" And then we see her get hit with the arrows. And then all of a sudden, they open up to a wide shot, and we see Roy throwing arrows at Sarah. What? Roy killed Sarah? What? So obviously something has been going on. Is the Mirakuru still inside of him? Is he still affected by that? What is going on? So that ending was definitely the best part of this entire episode. But I cannot wait to see how we resolve this. But yeah, it was a good episode. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I feel like the bad guy was a little too obvious, and it just didn't over like I wasn't blown away by the episode. Let's just say that. But I am liking that Laurel's getting a little bit feistier and she's getting the boxing down. And she even says to her trainer what why she's been the reason why she's sort of been like lashing out and not really fighting. It's because she confesses that her sister's dead and she can't tell anybody. And now he realizes that he's gotten to the root of the motivation to help coach her to become a far better fighter. The other thing that happened in this episode, Oliver and Thea, she's still getting on my nerves, but Oliver and Thea have seemed to have patched some stuff up, and now he's going to move into her place. Oliver also finds out that she bought this home with Malcolm Merlin's money because, hey, everybody assumes he's dead, so she gets his inheritance, and that's also who is the investor in her Club Verdant. So Oliver's not very happy about this, but he's willing to, play nice, and he's trying not to fight with his sister, so he's going to move in. But when he moves, like when you see him in the apartment, there's this big open window, and somebody's obviously watching them. Dun dun dun, Malcolm Merlin. So he's clearly eye spying on Oliver, and obviously Thea knows that her father is up to something, and isn't letting Oliver in on this big secret. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for me. It was an okay episode, but again, like I said, I really enjoyed the fighting at the top of the episode, and then ending it with Roy waking up out of this nightmare that he is the one who killed Sarah. Is that for real? Is he just dreaming this? I don't know, but I need to know. All right, guys, let me know what you thought of this week's episode, and I'll see you next week.